Just imagine, Moonton would revamp Odette and finally let her use her sword. Wouldn't that be awesome? How I got a silly idea like this, you may ask? Well, I collected the data from over 800 comments and submissions to find out which hero desperately needs a revamp. Or at least, some kind of buff. I really hope Moonton is watching this, so they are not revamping heroes that work perfectly fine. Also make sure to re-download Mobile Legends right now with Aptoide. Why should you do this? Well, you will get a bonus of 15% right now when using my code MLG5, and on special days, the bonus goes up to 30%. You don't have to create a new account or re-download any resources. Everything in the game stays the same. Well, except that you save a ton of money from now on. So, do it now! You're not only supporting your own wallet, but also me and my channel. The download link and the step-by-step guide is in the description box below. Thank you for helping me out. Now without further ado, let's start with number 10, the Sandman Khaleed. Firstly, I talk about what's wrong with the hero, and secondly, what could be done to fix the issues. Also, don't be shy to make your own suggestions in the comments. His first skill and ultimate can be easily avoided, even with a hero that doesn't have any blink skills, while his second skill can be interrupted easily with CC skills. And although he's quite decent on his lane in the early game, he falls off the cliff in the mid and late game. So, to sum the problems up, easily avoidable skills, combined with low damage, and the possibility to interrupt his special regen skin. There we have a couple of things we could work on. His first skill and ultimate animation could be made faster, so it's not so easy to avoid it anymore. Or increase the damage of these two skills, especially in the late game. They could also give him CC immunity while using his second skill. Another thing that they could change is the way how his first skill works. The rotations are interrupted if you're not hitting an enemy, which could be removed so no enemy can come close to him while he's using it. They could also remove that he's almost stopping when rotating and keep him moving. Like this, it would be much more easier for him hitting his enemies. Let's move on to number 9. The guy that claims to never found a worthy foe, but ends up feeding most of the time, Martis. As I said in my History of Mobile Legends video, he was once the most OP hero in the game. The problem here is the word was. You could argue that his damage is okay. He has CC immunity while using his second skill, and his ult can deal a huge amount of true damage. But these are all things you can get from other fighters like Lapu Lapu or Belmont as well. Just better. He really lacks the mobility to chase or get away from the enemies. His second skill is easily avoidable, and any good player just waits until you used it to burst you back into another world. You also don't have good regen abilities like Ruby or Yuzong. And even if you build regen items for him, items like Dominance Ice easily counter his regen, his attack speed, and his damage. So basically all attributes you need to be effective. So what can we do to fix these issues? I had suggestions like give his skills some build and spell them, but if you look at Martis' specialities, he's a hero that should charge forward and kill the enemy in no time. So my suggestion is not to change anything on his stats, but on his animation speed. Both his first and second skill animation should be increased, because this would make it a lot harder for the enemy to avoid it. Next we move on to number 8, our favorite tank, Layla. I think we all know what her problem is, right? She has no mobility to survive any gank on her own, except when she's using Flicker. This is easy to fix in my opinion though. I think her second skill doesn't really fit into her playstyle right now. She should stay as far away from the enemy as possible, because then she deals more damage and she's safe from the enemy. Her second skill has a pretty short range though, so I would change this into her reposition skill. The skill itself can stay the same as it is now, but after firing the energy ball, the energy of that shot lets her jump backwards. Like this, you can easily reposition yourself if an enemy is coming too close to you, and the skill would fit better into her arsenal. Next we have number 7, my old bro, Badang. His biggest problem in my opinion is that he's super dependent on creating his wall. His second skill is just too easy to avoid, and once you've missed it, you're just a sitting duck. If you hit it though, the damage you deal is high enough, and theoretically you can still stun lock the enemy with your passive. So instead of revamping him, I would suggest to simply increase the hitbox of his second skill. If it's easier to hit the enemy with it, he's much more effective again. You could also think about slightly increasing the stun ability from his skill.
Stop it. Get some help.
Man, I almost had it. From his ult. While many Badang mains use Flicker, I preferred Petrify, since I got a lot more guaranteed kills like this. With a longer stun, this wouldn't be necessary though. Next we have number 6, the pale goddess Carmilla. In theory, her skills are all good, and she has the potential to be a very good roamer. But like other heroes before, she does many things worse than others. She's supposed to be a support hero, but doesn't really have any support skills, since she don't have any skills that provide heal, speed up or shield for the team. She can be played as a tank as well though, since she's not as tanky as other heroes like Hylos for example. Also as melee hero, it's extremely hard to play against enemies who have strong CC skills, since the enemy can easily escape her or just send her back to her grave. One thing I really like about her though is her passive. It fits that she as a vampire steals the defensive of the enemies. But why limit it to one time only? I would let her stack the effect on the enemy every few seconds for 5 times as well. Like this, she has the potential to steal up to 60 physical and magic defense, which would be a great way to support your team to kill the enemies. I believe this change would let her become a good support hero without the need of copying the heal or speed up skills from the other support heroes. I would also increase the range of her second skill and widen the range of her first skill. As number 5, we have the hoverboard guy who is slow AF. Gord. He's a guy with a hoverboard, but has no dash skills and is one of the slowest heroes in the game. That's not fitting at all. So I make it short here. Give him a cool bling skill that actually fits with him riding his hoverboard. Number 4 is... I don't really have a funny name for him. Hanzo. I was actually surprised so many people want a Hanzo revamp. So here we are. Many people said he's too weak before level 4 and as good as dead when he's getting invaded. I don't think that's true though. You have to play it safe of course and can't kill the invaders. But it is very easy to secure your buff with your first skill, so that shouldn't be an issue. Others say it's too easy to find his body, and this is one thing I would change. Only show the direction to his body instead of the full way. That could be already enough to make him more viable again. Others also suggested to decrease the amount of stacks he needs to use his first and his ult form. But honestly, if you know what you're doing, this shouldn't be the biggest issue. So yeah, I actually don't think that he really needs a revamp. A little buff would do the trick here. Next we have number 3, the sloth of Mobile Legends, Terizia. He's the least picked hero as of recording, with a pick rate of 0.03% in high mythic games. Since almost every meta hero in the game has a blink skill, his weakness is obvious. He's way too slow to catch anyone. He stops when using his first skill, he slows down when using his second, and even my 85-year-old grandmother jumps further than him with his ult. So the changes I would make are obvious. Keep his damage, but speed him up. Don't interrupt his walking when he's using his first skill. Don't slow him down as much when using his second skill, or speed up the animation, and let him jump further with his ult. If you want to change up his skill, you could replace his current first skill with a dash skill, similar to Balmond maybe. So yeah, speed up the sloth a bit, and he will have a place in the current meta again. On number 2, we have Minsitthar. When using him, you really have to ask the question, why would you use him when you can use Franco's hook? Why would you use him for anti-dash if you could use Kufra or Phoveus? He is a fighter, but his damage is quite low and he's also not as tanky as other fighters. And his passive with the increased gold only works somewhat when your team is winning. If you fall behind, you use a hero with a useless passive. So why should you use him at all? There's no real reason right now. So this must be changed obviously. The question is just how? Well, since the range of his hook is smaller than Franco's, it would be fair in my opinion to make it easier to land. Make it more instant, so the enemy has a hard time dodging it. His ult also should be more useful. I was thinking about the guards following him, but with the grounded effect that might be too OP. Increasing the range and the damage of the guards might do the trick. He also needs another passive, although I don't really have a real idea yet what it could be. If you have an idea, let me know. Now we finally made it to number 1, and I'm sure you all know who it is. The most beloved MM in the Mobile Legends community, Hanabi. I'm not mentioning the Reforge Your Legends event now, although I just did. Anyway, she's a ninja that should be fast on the battlefield, yet she's as agile as a rock. So the changes that need to be made are obvious. Give her a dash skill or some other mechanic to escape. A smoke bomb skill might do the trick as well. Maybe let her use a basic attack like Aerophil. She's a ninja after all. Ninjas are supposed to be quick. I mean, just look at Hayabusa. Another thing you should have a look at is my tier list video right now. See you over there!